first off, Barry, thanks for joining me. Mardi Gras is in the rearview mirror, and I think people from the outside will go, oh, well, now they're just laying back. They're, taking vacation time. It just starts right over again. That clock ticks on Ash Wednesday, and they tear it down and bring it back up again.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that is the misconception, even here in New Orleans. It's funny, I was watching Jay Leno, who was a comedian, over on the coast at one of the casinos, and I happened to be on the front row, and he goes, "Sir, what do you do?" And I said, "I build Mardi Gras floats." And he goes, "So what do you do the other 364 days a year?" But I think that, and it was funny, obviously, and I think that some New Orleanians do understand, a lot of people do understand that we do spend a lot of time doing this. I don't think that people understand how busy we are. Of course, we're busy now, not just with Mardi Gras stuff. We've got stuff happening in parades all over the world. But we're always, literally, we are working on 2020. We already have all the designs for 2026, 2027, and we're working on 2028 in some cases for here in New Orleans and for Mardi Gras. This morning I was stopped off at the Endymion Den, Bacchus, stuff's happening at Muses, Endymion, Iris, Tux, we are moving everywhere in all these different warehouses all over town. There's literally millions of square feet of warehouses full of floats. And I don't think people understand that Mardi Gras today is literally twice as big as it was pre-Katrina. Mardi Gras has just exploded.
I saw an interview recently where they said that the Kern family and Kern Studios is the bloodline of Mardi Gras. Is that a fair assessment of what y'all do for the city and with these floats?
Well, listen, this is a legacy business. My grandfather, Roy Kern, I think of him a lot because we're right here on the river, and you look right across the river where he actually built the first float on the back of a garbage wagon. Listen, I think that Mardi Gras is one of the things. Well, first of all, New Orleans is identified with Mardi Gras. Listen, there's other cities that will tell you they have good food and good music and all these things, and they do have it, right? But the one thing that we own and that we are most symbolized by is Carnival Mardi Gras. And the thing that makes it so great is it's all Mardi Gras is an embodiment of everything that we do. When you think about Mardi Gras, is not just the floats. I tell people, I said, listen, Macy's has a beautiful parade, the Orange Bowl is a beautiful parade, but in New Orleans at Mardi Gras, there are no spectators. There's only participants. And in New Orleans, it's as important, if not more important, to be in the high school, in the band in your school than it is to be on the football team, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think about that, we have incredible bands. We have high school bands that are better than a lot of college bands around the country that are between every float. So you have these floats, you've got people interacting, throwing beads, everybody's having a good time. So you're part of the parade, right? And so I think that all of this stuff comes together, and I think that's the reason why New Orleans, people love to visit this city, and they love to be part of New Orleans. They love to experience it. And Mardi Gras it brings in not only the music, not only the celebration, but also, there's the food. Everybody's eating, it's families. A lot of people think that Mardi Gras is girls gone wild in the French Quarter. Obviously, people here in New Orleans understand it's literally, I see generations of families that ride these floats, that are members of these organizations. You'll have a grandfather, a father, and a grandson all riding on the float together. And you can see the same families. I'll see as I go down, I ride in front of a lot of the parades because we're there to help out, making sure things are going right. And I'll see families out on the street in the same spot. You'll see multiple generations, they're eating together. You may have a guy who's literally the president of the bank is there with his family, and then next to him is the custodian of the bank and their family, and everybody's interacting, having a great time. Obviously, for us, it's a legacy business. It's very, very important to me because of my family and our history in it. But I think the bigger picture is that this is business for our city. This is an economic engine. This is $1 billion economic impact that literally goes into the community. It's like, literally, it's just really unbelievable how involved everyone in this city is in Mardi Gras. And this is really unique to New Orleans. there's other cities around the world that have these festivals and these events and these parades, but nowhere like New Orleans do you have the people per capita participating not only in the floats and being on the floats and the parades, but in the bands, in the music, in the food, in the parties and the events. And now you have all these sub-crews and little crews that are out there. You got, the Barkuses and Crew de Vue and all these incredible different parades that are happening. And I mean, look, it's who we are as a city. And obviously for me, it's a wonderful business to be in. Heck, we even have the biggest entertainment companies on earth are emulating what New Orleans is.
Young Barry, 14 years old, he's at the dinner table, and your dad's at the dinner table, and you say you want to be an attorney, or you want to be a doctor. What do you think his reaction would have been?
Well, first of all, let me just say, when you had Blaine Kern as a father, very, very obviously a very big personality in the room. For me, on a personal level, there was never any thought that I was going to be doing anything but what I was doing and what I do here at Mardi Gras World and Kern Studios. He basically, my dad was a dreamer, and he had an incredible imagination, and he always was looking to basically, he saw things in Mardi Gras and in our city that other people don't see. I mean, heck, I laugh, but he would tell me, son, New Orleans East one day, we have all that land. He says, one day there's going to be rockets that are going to be landing to pick up. There's going to be there's going to be a port, a space port in New Orleans. Like, his imagination was so incredible for things like that. He also knew that Mardi Gras had to democratize in order for it to really thrive and grow. And so he was obviously, he had the good fortune of having some great benefactors and guys to rely on. He had Dr. LaRocca, who was the captain of the crew of Ala, who started him off in the business. And then, of course, Darwin Finner, who was the captain of Rex, saw in Blaine an opportunity, a very talented young man, that he could basically help grow and help Mardi Gras grow and prosper. And not only just with his own crew of Rex, but he encouraged Blaine to help Mardi Gras grow for the entire city and for everyone. And I think that is I think that's really, I guess, the legacy of this business more than anything, is that this business has been part of the growth of Mardi Gras and the continued basically keeping the same. We stay the same, but at the same time we're staying the same and honoring the history of Mardi Gras. We're also changing. We've been part of all of the monumental changes that have happened in Carnival in terms of animation to floats, multiple float sections, different ideas for throws, lighting, fiber optics. We brought these things to the forefront for our customers here, and now we're doing the same thing all over the world for customers like Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Six Flags. We're working on a parade right now for Six Flags that is going to spray water out. It's going to go out in the next month, and it's going to go to different Six Flags parks all over the United States and spray water on these kids. So you're going to be encouraged to come to the theme park when it's hot as heck in the middle of the summer, wear a bathing suit, and these floats are going to spray you with water. And we think that this is going to take off like wildfire. We feel like we're going to be building this water parade for theme parks all over the world.
I know these floats can be almost like your own children, and there's so many parades y'all do. There's signature floats and there's theme floats. Now, there are a few signature floats that over the years are kind of your favorites, that when you see that, something that y'all built from your hands, that every year we see that float and we know it. Is there a few that you can kind of pan pick that you're like, those are some of my favorite floats?
I mean, well, first of all, to ask me what my favorite parade or favorite
float is,
float is difficult, because obviously, I have a lot of floats. I mean, literally, having been part of building literally thousands of floats. But in my mind, there's obviously certain floats that really stand out. And I think that King Kong, and King Kong was really the thing that my dad was just fascinated with. King Kong. So I think King Kong, Queen Kong, Baby Kong, and Bacchus really stand out, and the whole new Kong family. And of course, Bacchus was very instrumental in bringing the Super Cruise bringing in celebrity kings, and really kind of was a spark to help get Mardi Gras going again in the late '60s. So I think of the Kongs and Bacchus and the new Kong family, which is spectacular. I think of the Captain Eddie in Endymion. This float, or the Pontchartrain Beach, two spectacular floats, big floats. Really, it's hard to tell you which one is the better of the other. Pontchartrain Beach is such a theme that people love to reminisce about Pontchartrain Beach, and it's an incredible float. And then at the same time, Old Man River is just, that river goddess on the front of that float is probably maybe one of the prettiest floats ever sculpted. I think of the Leviathan and Orpheus, which really brought fiber optics to Mardi Gras and really kind of got everybody into, it was kind of like an arms race to see who could build the best float, the Leviathan. There's just so many of them now. It's hard to say which one is my favorite.
Talk about your third generation. How proud are you of Fitz and Patrick? And did you tell them you could do anything, or did they were at young ages where they're like, Dad, we want to be part of Kern Studios?
Well, so I will tell you that first of all three of my sons are smarter than their father, and they're certainly better educated. All three of them went to the University of Virginia. They all got a great education. My wife Tina and I really encouraged that because we wanted them to be able to do anything that they wanted to do. And I've been really fortunate that all three of my sons are here in New Orleans. So that's the great news. All three of them are here. My oldest son Fitz is the president of this business, of our companies, and he's just doing a wonderful job. He's been here 10 years, and really, he is such a better manager than Barry Kern is. I'm really good at creating things and selling things and coming up with ideas and going out and meeting our customers and talking to them about what the future can be. But I'm not a great manager, and I never was. Fitz has been a great manager and has helped the business grow as we go into these different cities. I mean, that was something that I've always been on the forefront of. My first big jobs were in Spain and then in France for Disney. And so I've always had a passion to bring us what we do outside of New Orleans. And then now I've got my youngest son, Patrick, who's in the business now, and he's in the logistics side of the business. He's out here operationally. He'll be out. We were just in right after Mardi Gras, we were in Houston for the rodeo parade. Was literally on the Saturday of Endymion. We had the rodeo parade in Houston, and the parade going on at Universal Studios in Orlando, their annual Mardi Gras parade, as well as right after that we did the Fiesta, has the Texas Cavaliers River Parade, where we built over 60 barges that are decorated in beautiful lights and props. And so my son Patrick was there, part of the team making that happen. And then my middle son Andrew now is here in New Orleans, working with a group of guys in private equity business and a company called Cars Hill Partners, and they're doing their thing. I'm really proud of those guys.
Mardi Gras is one of the greatest events in New Orleans. Can it get any bigger? Is there something that is going to inhibit it from getting any bigger? Or are there any worries that you have that we can't get to another step, or have we maxed out on Mardi Gras?
So listen, let me just tell you, Mardi Gras, certainly the second weekend, certainly almost every day has gotten as big as it can get. That's the truth. That's the reality. Mardi Gras has really, in terms of the size of the parades and numbers of floats and people, I don't see it getting bigger than that. I see now what you try to do is just make it better. Better floats, better show, better, more sustainable flows. I think that these tariffs are going to drive some prices, and I think that that's going to get people to continue to think, which has been happening anyway, to throw and to have more sustainable items that people want to keep and utilize. And so I think that that's going to be, I think that Mardi Gras is going to continue to get better, and certainly it needs to continue to get better. And I think we need to continue to encourage that the more we stay the same, the more that Rex honors the traditions of Carnival and the Rex Ball and what they do. But at the same time, we need the Endymions and the Bacchuses and the Orpheuses and Irises and we need those crews to continue. Cleopatra, the first weekend you talk about, Cleopatra's over 3,100 members on the first parade on Friday night, or the second parade on Friday night, that first opening night. Cleopatra is really, I mean, they're the first super crew on the first weekend. And so that is making, I see that as making a change to what happens. And I think what we want to do is try to encourage these crews to be better, put on a better show, and frankly, you know, and maybe, and listen, I'm not saying anything against the smaller crews, but I think the quality of what we do needs to be maintained. I think that you need bands, or as many bands and units between the floats as you can have. I believe that we need to get more concise in what we do. I think that the fronts of the parade sometimes can have too many elements. We need to bring that down because we have so many parades now that are following one another, and every parade impacts what happens to the other ones. You know, we've spent, really since Katrina, we've spent the last 20 plus years figuring out how to build floats that don't break. We've gotten bigger tractors, bigger equipment. We've invested, literally the crews in Kern Studios have invested tens upon tens of millions of dollars in new floats, tractors, equipment, lighting, welding machine, all the different things that we need to basically make it where the floats in a parade can go from point A to point B without a breakdown. Now we just need to even further refine in what we put on the streets. So instead of having 17 different units in front of the parade, let's have 2 or 3 really good units, and let's just keep it concise, because you remember there's another parade behind you, right behind you in most cases. So we just need to make it as, we have to remember the police, which really only in New Orleans can this be done. No other police force on earth can do what happens in New Orleans. And I can tell you, anytime I've ever gone anywhere else that people have said, well, let's try a Mardi Gras type of thing, they want to do it, but as soon as they figure out that you're throwing things or people interacting, it scares people. Frankly, I'm not sure that if Mardi Gras didn't exist in its current form, I'm not sure if I went to somebody today and said, hey, this is what I want to do, they'd say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's get a bunch of people on floats having a great time partying, and let's put them with a bunch of people on the streets partying, and let's throw stuff to them, and you know, and let's all dance together. But it really is amazing what Mardi Gras has turned into and what it's morphed into just in my lifetime. I've seen it grow and prosper, and I think that that's the thing that we need to continue to do is help it get better. I think that's the real focus now is let's make what we have even better than it is, and let's make it a better show. Because remember, we're competing with the rest of the world. Everybody wants to be New Orleans. Everybody wants to be the place where people come to visit and eat and drink and have a great time. In New Orleans, it's ours to lose. We're in #1 position. All we need to do is keep the city clean, keep it secure, and we're doing a much better job with that today than we have been. I think New Orleans, we are in a renaissance. I think that, you know, we had an incredible Super Bowl, which obviously we had a Super Bowl parade. Oh, listen, only in New Orleans would the NFL allow you to do that. And so it's really, it's a testament to the city of New Orleans that the NFL comes to town and embraces our culture the way that it did.
Roy founded this place in 1932. What do you think he would say to see you're building floats with robots now and different technology from where he's just painting?
Let me tell you, so Roy Kern, my grandfather, was an artist, and he figured, you know, he was kind of I would say he was much more of an artist than a businessman, and you know, he built that first float. My father, Blaine, was really the guy who really turned it into a business. With the advent of ALA and then doing the Rex Parade and then starting with rental floats. Blaine really had a vision for what this would be. My grandfather looked at my dad as an empire builder. My father was extremely proud of the work that I did for Disney, Universal Studios, And I remember one of the last times that I was with my dad when he was still healthy before he passed. He was with me and my son Fitz, and he looked at Fitz and he said, "Son," he says, "you can't even dream of what you're going to accomplish one day in this business and where you guys are going to go with this." And frankly, you know, it's not been that long ago that my dad died, but frankly, literally, there have been some huge changes just since then. So I think that we really have only, New Orleans, and I think is only seeing the tip of what we can be and what Mardi Gras and what we can be in terms of tourism. And I think that we all need to understand that this is the one thing that we do better than anyone else in the world. There's no city on earth that puts on events better than we do here in New Orleans. And so I think that, you know, this is the one thing that we do really well. And I think we need to embrace it, appreciate it, and grow it. And that doesn't mean we can't do all the other things that we want to do here and need to do here, because we need to diversify. But frankly, we have a beautiful, original, real place. That French Quarter is an amazing place to visit. The Garden District, Uptown, these streetcars. Hell, Mardi Gras World, you come to a place like this, no place else in the world that people get to do this. I mean, every citywide convention that came to New Orleans last year did an event in this building because they want to experience Mardi Gras even when it's not Mardi Gras. So these are the things that we need to play on the strong hand that we have. And the strong hand we have is that we are the best in the world at putting on events, and that's what we need to just continue to do and make it better.
Do you ever try to just stop your brain from thinking of Mardi Gras? Are you thinking about what can Kern do better? What can the city do better? Do you ever try to just to kind of stop it from running?
Well, you know, so I do spend a lot of time. Listen, I work real closely with the police and with the city, with the mayor, with Mayor Cantrell, and I look forward to working with the next mayor, and basically making sure that they understand the importance of what I was just talking about. These events are to this city, and tourism is to New Orleans. And again, there's a lot of people that like to downplay tourism, that it's not a great business. Well, you know what? It's the business that we do have. So I think that if we work to make it better, then we can start to do what I see them do in other cities. Frankly, we can try to get higher levels of visitors that spend more money. And we can literally, if we do a better job in what we do, we can literally create more momentum and more business for the city that way. And so these are the things that, you know, listen, I think that between the Super Bowl this past year, the Today Show being here live from Mardi Gras World that third hour, and all the incredible press that we got, we had a party here for the media event for Super Bowl, that those 6,000 people from the media that came from all over the world, they won't soon forget the experience that they had here at Mardi Gras World, where basically we created a jazz fest and basically a food fest and a Mardi Gras festival all in one here. And I think that makes them think about coming back to New Orleans, writing good stories about New Orleans and all those things. So yeah, I'm always thinking about what can I do to help our city, and frankly, help everyone here in town. I mean, listen, I figure we're all in the same boat. I'm talking about every float builder, everybody in the hotel business. There are no competitors. We're all in this together. The World War II Museum, the aquarium, the zoo, all of us are attractions. We're all working towards the same goal. You know, I think that our partners at the convention center next door are working really, really hard to sell New Orleans. Walt Leger, Mark Romig, with New Orleans and Company. Everybody comes together, and we're all working hand in hand to basically push this city forward the best that we can. And I think that we've got a great team doing it, and I think that you're going to see in the years to come, I think you're going to see this renaissance I'm talking about, because at 62, I've had a chance to see New Orleans do this, just like I've seen Mardi Gras do that. And I think that we're on a roll, our trajectory is this. So I think that we're on a good roll.
Final question. Give me something to get excited about in 2026. You've already seen the game plans of a lot of these parades coming out with the floats. Is there one thing that you can pinpoint that can kind of get us ready to roll for another year of Carnival?
I think I'd have to say, listen, there's a lot of crews that are building, there's a lot of new floats and a lot of new things that are happening. I think the number one thing that I would be focused on for this year that I know of right now for Barry is look at that first weekend, that first night, Cleopatra. They have a new, we have a new float that we've been developing and working on for them that we started on last year. Basically, that crew is really, like I said, it's the first super crew, but they have a float that is basically it's a ride on the Nile River, Cleopatra's Nile River, and frankly, that float, in my mind, is one of the most revolutionary and most beautiful floats that we've ever built. And I think that it's going to be it's something to go out and to go see. And I look forward to the public seeing it being unveiled in its final form in 2026.
Barry, thanks for your time, sir.
Absolutely.